Lawyers for US President Donald Trump's re-election campaign have made a series of unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud they say could provide him with a pathway to victory. Correspondent Greg Jennett joins us now from Washington. So, Greg, they've outlined what they believe are multiple pathways to victory. How credible are these pathways and what are they?
A lot of caveats to put on all of this for you, Joe. We might just set the scene, first of all, by backtracking. Donald Trump himself had taken to Twitter to talk up this media conference by his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and other attorneys assisting the Republican campaign, or the Trump for 2020 campaign, and he'd said that this was, quote, a very important news conference that he said would lay out a clear and viable path to victory, Donald Trump's words. Then you get to this rather extraordinary media conference itself, where Rudy Giuliani leads off in a monologue for the best part of an hour, reading anecdotes from affidavits that might form the basis of a future legal case, but none has actually been launched using any of this information just yet. As he went along, evidently he was getting hotter and hotter, and what appears to be hair dye was streaming down the sides of his cheeks on both sides. He towelled himself dry with a handkerchief occasionally, but ploughed on for the best part of an hour before turning and handing over to two other lawyers who were assisting in this case. So that's the scene set for you. But what he laid out were just anecdotes, sworn statements to be sure, affidavits from people in Detroit, Michigan, who say that they were coached to do certain things, and how monitoring of votes wasn't done transparently and Republicans were made to stand back, and also how votes mysteriously turned up in the middle of the night in garbage bags and in garbage cans, they claimed sometimes. Then they went on to explain that this is all not accidental, that it happened across 3 or 4 states, therefore it must be centrally coordinated by the Democrats. Then there was yet another intervention that said, oh, it didn't stop onshore in America either. There were malign and malignant foreign forces here, including the hand of Venezuelan governments, past and present. So all of this made an unsubstantiated set of allegations. They claim the most detailed set of accounts they've laid out publicly so far. Here, at least, is how Rudy Giuliani tried to explain the legal basis for all of this.
Materials I have here, there are at least 10 that come from citizens. We have 1,000 at least, and we're getting more every day. And there are other aspects of this fraud that, at this point, I really can't reveal. This is really enough. It's enough to overturn any election. It's disgraceful what happened.
And Greg, to the coronavirus situation now, just how bad is it? It's kind of getting worse by the day there. And Joe Biden has spoken a short time ago. What's he had to say?
Yeah, so those numbers are always going upwards. America has now topped 250,000 deaths, and we're up to 11.5 million cases in all through the course of this year. So what Joe Biden did today was convene a meeting with at least 10, I think it might have been a dozen state governors. Not all were Democrats, by the way. Some were Republican governors trying to get feet under the table, as they say, to get a national project going so that he could hit the ground running on the 20th of January. He's not actually getting any of the transition briefings here in Washington, D.C. just yet. No access to crucial government departments, but he addressed the need for national unity on this and how he will hit the ground running on day one regardless. But he also was invited to comment about Donald Trump's reluctance, or refusal would be a more accurate word, to concede the election defeat, and also these legal shenanigans that seem to be afoot, or at least manoeuvring to be mounted by Rudy Giuliani and others. And it's quite clear in Joe Biden's words that he's deeply unimpressed.
Another incident where he will go down in history as being one of the most irresponsible presidents in American history. It's going to be certified. We're going to end up making clear that they are, making clear that we won. I'm confident he knows he hasn't won and is not going to be able to win, and we're going to be sworn in on January 20th. And I just, but far from me to question his motive. It's just outrageous what he's doing.
And Greg, I guess people in Australia are aware of how big a deal Thanksgiving is in the US through watching sitcoms, because they all seem to have Thanksgiving episodes where everyone comes together. What's the recommendation with that this year in the US?
It won't look much like those episodes, not in 2020, Joe. Really, all normality is suspended as far as Thanksgiving is concerned this year. Just mentioning Joe Biden, he's already stated publicly that he'll be following health advice and won't be having his large and extended family around to his home. There'll be a very small number, and those who do come will be fewer than 10 in the household at any one time, and they'll all be tested, those visitors who are arriving for the first time. Pretty much that is the advice that extends to every American family now. Don't travel, do it remotely, keep those numbers down. In some cases you can't even travel unless you're being tested before arriving in that city or that jurisdiction anyway. So the firm medical advice from the Centre for Disease Control is don't travel, cancel your travel plans. And, one doctor over in Utah has even said if you do come together as a family for Thanksgiving, don't be surprised if you're doing it again around New Year's or Christmas, because that could then be for a funeral.
Okay, we'll leave it there. The naturally hair-coloured Greg Jennett, our correspondent, reporting there from Washington.